tonight, and this is just kind of a little impromptu, scratch our heads, wondering out loud, a WTF or whatever moment that has come about since the terrorist attacks in San Bernardino, California. That'll just show you right there. We're not afraid to call spade a spade. And Amy, that was a terrorist attack if we've ever seen a terrorist attack. Wouldn't you agree?
Oh, absolutely.
And so the two things we want to bring up is in the headline, common sense gun control, yeah, as my wife chuckles, and the news media ransacking and trashing a crime scene. Have you ever seen anything like that in your entire life?
No, I think it's ridiculous. I can't believe that, first off, the media was stupid enough to go into an active crime scene and completely contaminate it. And second of all, I can't believe that the feds were stupid enough to allow it and not have that cordoned off and kept from that happening.
Now, it's said that the landlord called the press and allowed them to enter the building, enter the, I think it was an apartment complex.
Well, I'm sure he profited out of it.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's no secret that the media greases the palms of people that they want things from. But I have less problems with him doing that and the media doing that than I do with the cover-up. I mean, what a way to cover up evidence for a future trial.
Oh, absolutely. Anything that was in there that could be used is now being contaminated, and that's going to be brought up in a future trial. Well, we can't use that as evidence because it was contaminated. Well, they got a point.
Well, and that's not to say that the feds hadn't already been in there and gathered a lot of evidence and that they don't have plenty of stuff that they already need. But I can't believe that in less than a 48-hour period that they had totally gone through this, what was called an IED factory, and unless there is a second location that I've not been made aware of, and just literally went through everything.
Everything. I mean, they had piles of stuff laying everywhere, numerous driver's licenses that they were taking pictures of. It just makes no sense to me.
And here's what makes sense to me. It makes sense to me that our president was trying to cover up what was going on, which is why we did not hear from the very first instance. They knew. I think they knew from the very first press conference before the people were even dead.
Oh, yeah.
That these were Islamic terrorists. And you cannot make me believe that they have not been trying to cover that up from the very beginning. It took them 48 hours to admit that this was an act of terrorism.
And that's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous that it would take that long.
After I seen the guy's name, Syed something Farouk or whatever, and I don't have it here in front of me, but I'm pretty sure that's two of the three names. That's like saying Muhammad. It took me about 48 seconds to say that was terrorism.
Yeah, I mean, plain and simple. Plain and simple.
And as you went along, the really disgusting part is every piece of evidence that came out was more evidence that it was terrorism, and they continued to not call it terrorism. We're investigating it as possible terror. Possible? The guy's name is Farouk. He shot up a room full of American people. Well, and there were some other nationalities in there when I seen the names posted. But the point is, Farouk went in, and if you want to get on my case, go ahead, ed@edboston.com. I know that every person with the name Farouk is not a terrorist, okay? But I'm telling you, Farouk went in there, shot the place up with his wife. This was his co-workers. I don't care if he had a mask on or not. Baby, if you come into where I work with a mask on and start shooting a place up, I'm going to know it's you. You think?
I think.
This guy had worked there for 5 years. He wasn't a newbie. I think they knew who it was that came in there and shot the place up. We heard from the very beginning that an employee had left upset.
Right.
That was Farouk.
Yeah, I think they knew.
And then we've got the most intelligent man on the planet. Help me. I'm choking. The so-called president of the United States of America that says if we have common sense gun laws, it'll stop things like what happened.
That has got to be the most ridiculous, ignorant, asinine remark I think I've ever in my life heard. I about fell over when I heard that today.
Well, we were watching the video of the White House press secretary answering a question of one of the Ducey son from Fox. I think he's still with Fox, but, you know, it's... and his question was, does the president really believe that common sense gun laws will stop incidents like this?
You want to play it?
And yeah, let's play it and let's listen to what it has to say. As we just are winging this, and fortunately Amy has her phone right here beside us, and she'll just bring it up and we'll let you hear what we heard at a press conference. Go ahead.
Does the president really think that common sense gun laws would deter terrorists now that he has admitted these two may have been terrorists?
Yes. The president believes that passing common sense gun laws that makes it harder for people with bad intentions to get guns makes the country safer.
But so the president thinks that when there are potentially two terrorists sitting around planning a mass murder, they may call it off because President Obama has put in place common sense gun laws.
Well, Peter, we're still learning of the precise motives of the individuals who carried out this.
Who cares what their motives are?
One thing we do know is that the 4 firearms they were wielding were legally purchased under the laws that are in place now. That's a fact.
That's a fact. Okay, we're going to concede that it's a fact that they had legally purchased firearms. We're going to concede that.
Big deal.
If it was illegal to purchase them, do you think that would have stopped them from purchasing them?
Are you kidding?
They could have probably bought them cheaper on the black market
Probably.
than they did by buying them legally.
And then they couldn't have been traced.
And it apparently was that they didn't give a rat's rear end
Nope.
if it could be traced or not traced. These people who legally purchased their firearms also had an IED factory.
Were the pipe bombs that they had legal?
Probably.
Yeah, well,
I mean, all the components might have been legal. Putting them together's not.
possessing them is not.
Putting them in place to explode is not.
Nope.
And so, since while we have the most intelligent man on planet Earth going to circumvent the Constitution of the United States of America, which is treasonous, by the way, because we are at war. And if we're not at war, look at what happened Wednesday. You tell me we're not at war. You tell the families of those 14 people we're not at war. You tell me and tell them that we're not at war. And we've got to, and you notice that at that point, he was still saying that the president finally admitted they might be terrorists. Might be terrorists. And Obama might be a genius.
Yeah, I might be a supermodel too.
And I might be Einstein's twin brother.
Well, I see a resemblance.
The hair?
Yeah.
You've got to be... This is ridiculous. Mark Dice played a video of them ransacking that apartment. Now we get a press conference with the press secretary. I bet he went back and told Obama, you make me go out there and say the stupidest stuff.
You know how stupid you made me look?
I just look like a fool to the whole friggin' world.
And he did look like a fool to the whole friggin' world.
Yeah.
And made Obama look like an idiot to the whole... Well, he does that himself.
And here's a good example. We were in America watching what happened in France.
Yep.
This show interviewed a news reporter from France about that.
Yep.
So this is worldwide news. Terrorism right now, maybe it hasn't always been, but terrorism right now is worldwide news.
Absolutely.
Everybody that can get English-speaking news, or even the places that have news that, translated into their own language, if they've got news, the whole world knew about San Bernardino, California on Wednesday.
Right. Yep, absolutely.
And so they're watching this, and the whole world has to say, that's got to be the most ignorant person I've ever heard in my life. That's the United States of America. The country we've always looked up to as a bastion of freedom and protecting the world. And I'm not saying we should be out protecting the whole friggin' world, but let's at least protect our own citizens and call terrorists terrorists in America. Please. And let's put some federal agents on duty at a crime scene.
Right, exactly.
Because you can't make me believe that the local police and the local sheriff's department were calling the shots.
No.
They were
not on something like that.
They were being told what to do.
Right.
And then they got thrown out in front of the press and stuff like that. But you know me, I'm big on limited government, but that's the federal government's job, is to protect us. That's fake President Obama's job, is to be commander-in-chief. And when somebody attacks us on our own soil, and he can't even call a friggin' spade, a terrorist, so that wasn't a black racial remark, then we've got more than a serious problem. And I say it's time for the military to step up.
Yep.
And say, get out of our way. If you're not going to protect our citizens, then we are.
I agree.
And if that means whatever.
I'm just hoping that this whole catastrophe with them going in and ransacking this crime scene does not stop Well, I guess they're dead, so their trial is pretty much over. But there's one more.
Well,
The third one isn't dead.
the thing is they don't even know if that person had anything to do with it, because San Bernardino is one of the gang capitals of the world, and so when the police come running down or flying down the road shooting, everybody, they said there were people running all over the place and jumping fences, and people were calling the police all over the place saying, there's people fleeing from the police. Not that anybody in San Bernardino deserved anything that happened, but I mean, San Bernardino is not exactly...
The friendliest town?
well, it's not like the gates of heaven.
Oh, I bet not.
And so what I want to get across tonight is two things. One is that there is more to the reason that this was not called terrorism from the very first press conference than meets the eye. And two, Obama's in it up to his neck.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Explain to me what common sense gun laws are.
Common sense gun laws. Well, if you read the Second Amendment to the United States Constitution, that would be common sense gun laws to me.
I agree with that. So what makes them think that that would have deterred these people from doing what they did?
Well, let's take... You put this on the right track. Let's take this another step further. Since the president has such good common sense that he cannot call a terrorist, how is he going to have common sense when it comes to making his own gun laws? How's that going to work?
That's a very good question. I don't think it's going to work.
Because he literally has no common sense.
Exactly. You have to have some before you can make some.
And what is really even worse is that he ain't stupid.
No, look what he's done. He's become president of the United States. We have a Muslim in office. He's taken over, and he's allowing other Muslims to take over too. No, he's not stupid by far. He's pulled the wool over every one of our eyes. And the sad part is we have too many people in this world that are sheeple and will just follow him right off the edge of the earth.
Let's take this back. Let's go back to the crime scene thing. In our apartment complex, so we can relate to an apartment complex having a major crime because we had a murder-suicide less than 100 yards from our front door. Do you think that they let any of the local media, any of the Indianapolis media, any media period inside that house before they were done collecting every piece of evidence they could find?
Absolutely not. Let me tell you, that was... To see our local police department, the way they handled that whole situation was amazing. I mean, they did an amazing job. They stood outside in a perimeter around this whole facility for hours. I mean, 12, 14, 16 hours?
Well, and it was at least 6 hours before they even talked to the media.
Absolutely. And the media was all around. They sent people from Indianapolis here.
There were helicopters and
absolutely
and people on the scene.
And they had it covered with officers doing what they were supposed to do. Dogs tracking, officers, holding a perimeter. They didn't pay one bit of attention to anybody in the media except to keep them away. And, I mean, they did an amazing job. No way in this world would they have allowed media or anyone else. As a matter of fact, some of the family members were held back from going into that apartment. I mean, so if they were going to keep family members out, they're going to definitely keep the media out. They did an amazing job at doing it.
Well, we went to bed not knowing if somebody was on the loose.
Right.
Because they still had the dogs searching. They still had the assault weapons on their side, on their arms.
Right.
At the ready. And I'm not dogging the law enforcement in San Bernardino.
No,
because
it's the feds.
They did an amazing job.
Yes, they did.
The only thing I don't get is how the people slipped away the first time so fast.
Right. But in that situation, when the feds show up, they are supposed to take the authority. They are supposed to take over the crime scene, the authority of the crime scene. They are the ones that pass out orders of who does what. They were responsible for closing off that crime scene and for keeping it secure.
Now, trust me, they had the main FBI person from the LA field office on scene, because that guy has been talking from the very first press conference. So the feds were on the scene immediately. When I say immediately, it's an hour from LA to San Bernardino approximately. I'm told. I've never even been to California, so I couldn't tell you. But the feds were there. We talked about this earlier. Farouk was spotted by the people who were in there because he was at the party.
Right.
And left angry. You think that somebody didn't just maybe put 2 and 2 together that was a witness?
Wouldn't you think?
You know, he didn't kill everybody in that room that was in the party. And he didn't kill and injure every single person that was in that room and in the party.
Right.
So I'm thinking that somebody was smarter than your average bear and said, well, you know, Farouk left mad, and we know they did because they were reporting about it before the first press conference even happened.
Absolutely.
Farouk left mad, and they didn't maybe know that the second one was a woman, but it almost makes sense now why they use those ambiguous terms, upwards of 3 people, upwards of 14 killed. They were being coached.
Absolutely.
Who do you know that says upwards of 3 people? What's it even mean?
Yeah, what does upwards of 3?
I don't know. Is it 1 or 2?
Well, I would say that upwards of 3 would be more than 2, but probably less than 3. Who knows? It's a good question.
I can't. Maybe we need to call a mathematician and let them explain to us what upwards of 3 means.
Let's call the most intelligent man in the United States. You know, the one that's coming up with the common sense gun laws.
Hold on. Now I understand. It was upwards of 3 because there were so many people complicit to this that the number was upwards and upwards. Because as soon as it happened, lots of people knew. And I'm not saying... Of course lots of people knew the second it happened. It's a mass murder.
It's a mass murder, right.
And that could lead to another topic that we can cover soon. Don't be fooled by press reports of the number of mass murders that have been in the United States. When you look at... I heard this story yesterday afternoon, when you look at what is considered mass murders, and there's a definition. It has to be more than 2 people killed by 1 or more gunmen.
That would be upwards of 2.
1 or more. That makes sense to me. 1 or more. The numbers that the media is putting out is something, I forget, like 300 and some or 280. It's some number between 200 and 400. I just can't remember what it is exactly. But you know what they're including in things like that? A drug deal gone bad, and two drug dealers shooting each other in the parking lot.
Wow. I don't call that a mass murder.
I call that a good day.
Yeah. Oops.
Did I say that?
Out loud. You didn't even use your inside voice.
At the 26-minute and 3-second mark of this podcast, I said so.
Oops.
I'm ashamed.
No, you're not.
No, I'm not.
No, you're not.
You know, here's the deal. When I say stuff like that, here is the honest truth with me. I hope that every drug dealer, every murderer, every criminal, every terrorist, every Muslim, every extremist, every single one of them repent and give their heart to God. I even used to say I hope that Osama bin Laden gets saved before he dies.
Yeah, well, I'm not thinking that happened.
No, I don't think it happened either. I don't even think...
I think they dumped him in the ocean to put the flames out.
Probably so. It was going to burn their ship down.
Exactly.
But honest, I do believe that. I wish that every single person, regardless of what their crime is, would literally turn their life over to Christ so that they could be in heaven. But one of the reasons is what a testimony it could be.
Right.
That God is willing to forgive anybody of any sin. However, that not normally being the case, and so we're talking 2 drug dealers here with a drug deal gone bad. How many deaths are drug dealers associated with?
Oh, heavens. And that's hard to say.
There's no way to know.
There's not.
Because you can't track it.
No. I mean,
So,
they could be selling bad drugs and killing kids. They could kill each other. They can...
Well,
I mean, it can
overdose.
Cause, right, overdoses that can cause them to, you get somebody addicted, you can go rob a grocery store and shoot somebody so you can get money for your drugs, so you can go back to the drug deal. I mean, it's just
and that's
insane
not,
to even
that's
think
just
about.
the first level.
Exactly.
Then you go to the next level of people that are hooked on the drugs and the
Absolutely.
people that they rob and the people that they steal from, and et cetera.
All the way to the cartel.
So you take that, and 2 druggies killing themselves in the parking lot, as I said, is
It's
a good day. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Because they've had time to get their act together.
Right. Right. They choose not to.
And they
you
choose
pay the
not to.
price.
And people think that Christians can't talk the way I just did. And that you just did. That 2 drug dealers blowing themselves away in a parking lot does not constitute a mass murder. It constitutes a good day. Christians can't talk like that. That's not loving, and that's just mean.
Oh, well. I mean, we love them because we want them to change their ways. We want them to turn their life over to God. If they don't...
Got to get them off the street.
Absolutely.
They're going to kill
Our children live on the streets. Not literally on the street, but our children are out there. Our grandchildren are out there. Do I want my grandkids or my kids around that? Absolutely not.
And a perfect example is, within this apartment complex that we live in, there has either been 2 or 3 drug overdose deaths since I've lived here and since you've lived here.
Absolutely. On social media today, a there was a conversation going on about gun control and the common sense gun control, whatever in the world that means. But a lady said that she does not think that anyone should have guns because she had to deal with someone shooting themselves that was in her family. They committed suicide via a gun. My comeback was I apologized for her loss. I felt sorry for her. I was heartbroken for her loss. But if her and I were in the same place and someone came in with a weapon and was threatening to shoot somebody, I would use my weapon to protect her. And I would use my weapon to protect any innocent victim. And I also reassured her that I would never be a victim because of carrying a weapon.
I can tell you, I talked to a person today that hates guns.
Mm-hmm.
Hates guns with a passion. That is now in the process of getting his concealed carry permit and said, I'm not going down without a fight.
Absolutely.
And I could tell you the stories about why this guy hates guns. I could give you things that have happened to him. And I was actually shocked when he told me today, I'm getting my concealed carry permit.
I say good for him. I understand people are scared of guns because they've not ever been trained or they're uneducated on them. It doesn't mean they are bad. And this whole conversation about, oh, but guns kill people is so fake and fictitious. I've carried a gun for years and it's yet to kill one person. It's not the gun that kills someone, it's the evil behind the gun that does it. And when it's an innocent victim, it's just pure evil. If I'm protecting someone and in the process have to shoot and kill someone, that gun's not evil and neither am I. It's the evil people that take the innocent lives, the innocent victims, that's evil.
Well, we've jumped around and we've covered the two things that we really wanted to cover. That's common sense gun control.
And if anybody figures out what common sense gun control is, let us know.
Ed at edboston.com. Please feel free to enlighten us, which I always say, if we're wrong about something on this show, let us know. And in this case, if we can be enlightened. Now, I know that people think there's no reason that people need assault rifles and things like that, but the bad guys have assault rifles.
Right. Who wants to be outgunned? The police are already outgunned. You know, it's sad.
And so, common sense gun laws and the media trashing a crime scene. And as Mark Dice asked in his video that we watched, not the one that we played, he asked, would the landlord and the media be arrested for what they did? We know the answer to both is going to be no. For my beautiful wife, Amy, for our producer, Trevor, who I don't even actually believe is with us tonight. We did this spontaneous, but for him as well, because trust me, he's behind the scenes on everything. He just may not be right at this very second. And for your host, Ed, we all tell you to go out and do the right thing, and God bless.